I don't even know where to start, to be honest. My name is Eagle Hunt. I'm 21 years old, and about 10 years ago, I went through an oral immunotherapy treatment in Hong Kong. And I sort of want to give an update on my situation. I just got back from the allergist, so I have kind of my latest test results here. But I kind of want to go over, I guess, my history with my allergies to nuts and that sort of thing. My story wasn't really well articulated in my previous videos on this channel. So I figure I'll start off by giving, I guess, a broad overview of what my peanut allergy has been like over the years. So I found out about my peanut allergy, I guess my parents found out about my peanut allergy when I was probably around 1 year old. I was on an airplane in Germany and I just had hives all over my body, and my parents had no idea what was going on. Someone else on the plane ended up helping out. They told my parents to put some antihistamine on my body to help ease the hives that are on me. A little bit after that, I think I went through some peanut tests, and we discovered that I had an anaphylactic allergy to peanuts. Now, this allergy was very, very bad. When I was growing up, I had a special needs band on me saying hey, you got to be careful around this kid, because just smelling a peanut could send me to a reaction that would get me killed. I even had to wear dog tags. I had to wear dog tags with all of my relevant information. It's kind of like a collar that you put on a dog, right? That has their information on there. So yeah, it had health information, it had who to contact. I had a bracelet saying I had a severe allergy. This was no joke. I had to carry a fanny pack with an EpiPen on me. So it was pretty crazy back in the day. I couldn't eat at any place that had peanuts in their kitchen because of the risk associated with it. I had to be very isolated. I couldn't have the lunch at school. I couldn't have pretty much anything that was manufactured in a factory with peanuts. So it was definitely a burden for my parents growing up. And me too, right? After speaking with my allergist, we did some allergy testing, and I reacted to 1/100,000th of a peanut. That was how sensitive my reaction was. So clearly I was very, very allergic to peanuts. The only things that I could eat were things that didn't have any chance of cross-contamination with peanuts or tree nuts for that matter. And so when I was about 10, my parents were looking at oral immunotherapy. And so for those unfamiliar with that, it's basically giving very small amounts of an allergen, a food allergen, to somebody, and then slowly increase that amount over time in hopes to create some level of desensitization to the allergen. Now, at the time, there was some research being done at Stanford. They had a study going on, but it wasn't completed yet. It wasn't completed, and there was a chance that there was placebo. So I didn't do that. But I did end up moving to Hong Kong when I was 10 years old. Now, when I was in Hong Kong, everything was fine. I knew about this treatment that was there, but here's the thing. There actually was a treatment in Hong Kong that had gone through 20 successful candidates, and all of which had massive desensitization to peanuts, all completed by that point. And at first, I didn't want to go through the treatment. But about a year into living there, I was traveling to Indonesia. I was on a vacation in Indonesia. And on my way back, it was about an 8-hour plane ride to where I needed to go. Or 6-hour plane ride. I was on a multi-hour plane ride. And I remember this vividly. I was sitting on the plane. I can't remember if it was something I ate. I had KFC going onto the plane. Maybe that was made in peanut oil or something. Peanut oil is supposed to be hypoallergenic, but anyway, my allergy was severe enough to maybe that's what caused it. I think they could have handed out peanuts on the plane. They passed out peanuts. Usually we ask the staff not to pass peanuts out, but maybe that's what happened. I mean, there could have been a lot of things. In any case, I just remember getting itchy. I remember my throat starting to swell. It was in my jugular area. And we had taken off for about maybe an hour or two. There was no going back at this point. And I realized that I was having an allergy attack, and I knew what they felt like because I've had them before. But this one was different. This one was probably the worst one that I've ever had in my life. Now, on that plane ride, fortunately it was fairly empty. I got to the point where I was getting lightheaded, my heart rate was pounding, I could barely breathe, and then they just had to lay me down in the back, right, across a row of seats. And I remember just sitting there and fading in and out of consciousness almost. I remember seeing my parents. My dad was holding my I guess was right in front of me, taking my heart rate. And looking back at the videos, my heart rate was around 170 on that plane. My body was probably just trying its best to survive. I couldn't breathe. Again, fading in and out of consciousness. It was probably one of the scariest moments of my life, to be honest with you. And I'm on the plane, like, who knows when we're gonna land? So I'm pretty sure they just gave me a bunch of antihistamines and hope for the best. And that was that. So I ended up surviving, thankfully. And I was carried off the plane in a wheelchair and that sort of thing. And I thought it was fine. But a couple days later, this was less than a week later, I had another anaphylactic allergy attack, and I got sent to the hospital in Hong Kong. And I had to stay there overnight, and they had to, make sure that I wasn't gonna die and wasn't gonna go have any crazy reactions. It was at that point that I guess my parents convinced me, and I was on board, that I should probably do this oral immunotherapy. So I ended up going to the allergist there, and we kind of talked through some things. They told me how it was gonna work. And the way it was gonna work is basically there was this new drug at the time. And at the time, this wasn't FDA approved in the US, so this wasn't being used in any treatments. But it was called Xolair. And it was typically used for patients with asthma. But they found that Xolair actually lowers your IG levels in your blood. Your IG levels are essentially where your body tells you, oh, we're gonna react negatively to this and give you an allergic reaction, right? So the idea was to inject me over the course of a few, it's like probably 6 to 16 weeks or something, with Xolair every 2 to 4 weeks, in hopes to lower my IG levels, which essentially lowers my body's allergic response to allergens. And so they did that for a bit. So these shots sucked. Like they had to inject it into my fat, like on my arm, right? And just, it was slow. It's like syrup. It was awful. Molasses even. It was awful. Worst shots I've ever had. So after being on Xolair for about 16 weeks, or whatever it is, they started giving me my first oral challenge. And that's when I had the first amount of peanuts. I can't remember how much I ate at that time, but it's on the channel. I think it was like the second video or something. You can watch it there if you want. 10 years ago. It looked like I had some shortness of breath. It looked like I had some sort of issue, but it seemed to be fine. So over the course of time, I slowly ate these peanuts, these fractions of a peanut, in this applesauce or whatever, while still getting Xolair shots. And that continued for a little bit. I don't have the timelines. After that, they kept increasing my peanut dosage over time. Eventually, I got to the point where they stopped giving me Xolair and continued with the peanut powder, right, that I was eating. And during that time, I remember having multiple different allergic reactions. Like, I always had hives. I always had something going on. It was always very high stress. But eventually, I pushed through the treatment and I started eating full peanuts. And by the end of the treatment, I was able to eat 9 full peanuts without any reaction. And that's pretty impressive, given the fact that I reacted to 1/100,000th of a peanut prior to that. And again, at the time, I was probably around 11 or 12, probably 12. So I did that for a while, and the doctor said, okay, I should be eating 9 peanuts a day for pretty much the rest of my life, and I should keep my resistance. Well, over the years, I moved away from Hong Kong, away from that allergist, and I hated peanuts. Like, I hate peanuts. Peanuts are probably one of the, like, for me, they just taste bad. I don't understand really people's appeal. I hate peanut butter. I hate candies with peanuts in them. I hate peanuts sprinkled on things. Like, the taste just is so awful. And that's probably from a trauma response. Historically, anytime I've smelled or tasted peanuts, that led to me almost dying. So it kind of makes sense that I might not like peanuts, even though I'm resistant to them now. And so I guess over time, I just didn't eat them every day. And over time, I ate less and less peanuts, right? And so I had them semi-frequently. I dropped my dosage quite a bit over the years, and here we are. At this point, maybe every 3 months, 4 months even, I'll have like a tiny little scoop of peanut protein powder, and just like to make sure, like, okay, I'm not like deathly allergic to this. I'm not gonna like instantly die if I have some exposure to peanuts. But it's been a weighing concern for me, right? Like, how much of my sensitivity have I lost? I mean, clearly I cannot eat 9 peanuts anymore. So, where am I? Where am I at? So I scheduled an appointment with an allergist to see kind of where I'm at here. And I guess the verdict's in. I tested positive for peanuts, so yeah, I guess I am allergic to peanuts to some level. But the interesting thing is, it's not the nut that I'm most allergic to. After my peanut treatment in Hong Kong, my doctor told me I'm still allergic to walnuts and still allergic to pecans, but surprisingly, I'm not allergic to any other nut anymore. I used to be allergic to a lot of other nuts. Nowadays, I can eat almonds fine, I can eat cashews fine. All these nuts that I used to be allergic to with peanuts, I'm no longer allergic to, except walnuts and pecans. And so looking at this, my walnut allergy seems to be the worst one. And I guess over the years, I actually have been exposed to walnuts and I did get sent to the ER. So my walnut allergy is definitely anaphylactic and I could probably die from that. So I stay far away from walnuts. But interestingly, my peanut allergy is the lowest out of the three. So that makes me very curious. Like, I'm still positive, right? But by like a much smaller level. So if we're going off the hive size, my walnut was 13 by 20 and 15 by 22. Those were really, really big hives. And my peanut one was only 7 by 7. My other peanut was 10 by 20. So it was interesting, right? So my peanut allergy is substantially less bad than my walnut allergy. I know walnuts, like I'll eat some walnuts and my throat closes and I gotta go to the ER. So it seems like peanuts are not necessarily as big of a concern nearly as when I was a kid, when I had to wear like, dog tags and an armband or anything. And I've been able to live a fairly normal life. I've been fortunate, right? Like I can eat at places that have nuts in their kids. Yeah, I just have a lot more opportunities now. I can live a pretty much normal life while just avoiding peanuts because I don't like peanuts. But it has me questioning, like I potentially want to start up an oral immunotherapy project just on my own. I talked to my doctor about it today, my allergist, and he told me that he can't really give me any advice and they don't offer oral immunotherapy here. Well, anyway, okay, now let's talk about my appointment today. Well, I talked to my allergist and it seems like Xolair finally got approved by the FDA. Xolair is just a readily available drug and I qualify for a Xolair. So I can take Xolair now. And he said that might be beneficial. But he also mentioned that some other, oral immunotherapy clinics in the area only go up to 1 peanut, which kind of blew my mind. I'm like, when I was a kid, I could go all the way up to 9. Like, whatever they had going on in Hong Kong was like way more advanced than what we got here and what's available here. And so I asked him, okay, well, if I qualify for the Xolair, do you have any advice for how I can continue an oral immunotherapy project at home? He told me he couldn't give me any advice because he doesn't want to monitor that. It's against code, like regulations. He can't really give me that advice. Well, okay, now I'm kind of in a weird place because I guess my doctor in Hong Kong told me I should continue eating peanuts over time. And now my allergist here in the US is like, okay, you are allergic to peanuts, you should, stay away. But I did just get some blood work done, so I'll know in about 2 weeks how that kind of turns out. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to start an oral immunotherapy project myself. What would that look like? Obviously, there are inherent risks doing this. But I did ask my allergist, and my allergist said that it can still be beneficial for people in their 20s, because I don't qualify for some of the other oral immunotherapies because he said that it's most effective when you're a kid. But I went through one as a kid, right? That's probably why, because I went through an oral immunotherapy process when I was a kid, that's probably why my peanut allergy is so much less than it used to be, right? My reaction is so much less than it used to be. Like, I'm curious, if I go through an oral immunotherapy process myself, that's, that has a system to it, that has planned increments, fully measured, and that sort of thing, like, how far can I get? And that sort of thing. So I just did my blood work today. We'll see what it is in 2 weeks. I can give an update on that. I've kind of outlined a 6-month plan for myself, and I'll go into more details later. This is kind of just like a sit down chat and update. Yeah, I'm curious. My plan right now is very high level, is to get on this Xolair. So I'm going to have a consultation in about 2 weeks. Take that for 16 weeks about. Then start very small amounts of peanut protein powder. And from that, increase my dose every 2 weeks, hopefully reaching a fairly good amount. And I guess I'll document my progress and I'll document my system. Again, this is just a high level discussion, kind of chat, right? We're not getting into the weeds here. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I live a fairly normal life. My peanut allergy is substantially better than when it was when I was a kid. I haven't had a negative reaction to peanuts in years, but I am concerned about my overall tolerance to it, and I'm curious to see if I can sort of hack my body into having a better resistance to peanuts, mainly for my own protection, right? Like, I want to be the safest possible, and yeah, I just don't want it to go down from here. I'm concerned about it going down, that's all. Anyway, that's it for this current update, I guess. I will give an update in about 2 weeks to see where my IG levels are and where my baseline is for my peanut allergy and combating that. But I hope this was semi-informative. It's kind of loose. I didn't really give a lot of concrete detail here, but yeah, I guess stay tuned for more. We'll see where it goes.